What if the reason everything feels almost right is because you are standing one step to the left of the door that was built for you? Not a mile away. One step. You keep feeling the tug in quiet moments, the sense that if you turned a fraction, the world would meet you differently. Then the day gets loud and you negotiate yourself back into familiar rooms that fit like a borrowed jacket. You tell yourself this is fine because it functions, because the calendar is full and the bills are paid. And yet a softer part of you measures each evening and keeps returning the same verdict. Something essential is waiting, and it will not wait forever. If that sentence lands, do not treat it as poetry. Treat it as coordinates. Look at the pattern your life has been drawing. Small irritations where there used to be ease. Invitations that look perfect on paper and taste wrong in your mouth. A project you cannot stop thinking about no matter how many respectable tasks you stack on top of it. A city or a time of day or a style of work that keeps calling in 3 unrelated conversations. Your laugh arriving half a second late in rooms that once felt like home. Your body finding tiny ways to refuse what your mind keeps agreeing to. A headache here, a delayed reply there, a sleep that will not deepen until you admit what you know. None of this is random. This is the pressure that forms the hinge. The pain beneath it is simple. You have been paying the price of being almost aligned, almost the right pace, almost the right company, almost the right use of your gifts. Almost carries a quiet tax that compounds into exhaustion. You try to solve exhaustion with more force and more planning and more performance and find yourself back in the same loop, productive and unsatisfied. Breakthrough is not a bigger push. It is a cleaner angle. When inner and outer line up even slightly, the room changes tone. Relief arrives before results. Timing cooperates. The sentence you have been rehearsing stops needing a rehearsal. You have felt this before for an hour or a day and called it a good streak. Today you stop treating it like weather and start treating it like a setting you can choose. I am not going to ask you to burn your life down. I am going to ask you to stop paying for late truth. There is a sequence you can run that lowers static and lets the signal through before decisions, before conversations, before you spend another week on a path your own breath does not support. It is repeatable in minutes. It does not require belief. It requires attention you can actually give on a busy day. If you carry a skeptical voice, let it sit beside you. Skepticism is welcome here because we are going to measure everything by the only metric that matters at this stage. Relief before results. If a move leaves you quieter and clearer within 10 minutes, that is evidence. If it leaves you noisier and smaller, that is evidence. Precision grows from evidence. You may be afraid that stepping through this door will make you unrecognizable to people who love you. Here is the quieter truth. The people who love your accuracy will recognize you faster. The ones who loved your compromise will simply hear a different song and drift to a different room. You do not need to argue with either outcome. You need to become legible to yourself because legible people are easy for the right chances to find. This video is a map for the next 72 hours. You will learn how to claim your morning before the world claims you. How to meet the hinges of the day with steadier attention than your old panic. And how to land your evenings with coherence so sleep returns as a partner, not a hiding place. If you practice this, the hinge will turn. The door will open inward. You will not force it. You will fit it. Right now, choose whether you will watch with scattered half attention or whether you will let your shoulders drop and breathe once as if it mattered. Put the phone face down. Let your jaw unclench. Give these minutes a clean focus and you will feel it, the lens clearing without ceremony, the sense that your life is about to rhyme with itself, not someday, not when conditions are perfect, but now. Your breakthrough does not need a stage. It needs a steady hand on the handle that has always been on your side of the door. Take that hand and keep it there as we begin. Here is what happens when a life begins to pivot for real. Subtle repetitions stop behaving like trivia and start arranging themselves into arrows. You think of someone you have not spoken to in months, and within the hour their name appears in a message you did not expect. A phrase repeats across two unrelated conversations and then shows up on a page you open at random. A plan that looked perfect keeps slipping a day at a time until you admit you are relieved and not disappointed. None of this is spectacle. It is choreography. The world is not trying to entertain you. It is trying to make you easier to read. When you become easier to read to yourself, everything that fits you can find you faster. The first adjustment is not heroic. It is sensory. Pay attention to the way your body votes before the mind writes its reasons. Your breath lengthens when a choice supports you, even if it scares you. Your breath shortens when a choice flatters you, but quietly drains you. Your spine stacks without force when you speak one honest sentence and collapses when you over-explain. Your gaze widens when you are on your own side and narrows when you begin to perform. None of this requires belief. It requires noticing for a week and letting data replace drama. The second adjustment is pace. You have learned to sprint through every hinge because urgency wears the mask of importance. Replace the sprint with a single measured exhale and a pocket of silence long enough for the finer cues to surface. In that silence, watch what rises. Often it is not a grand instruction, but a small direction that carries weight out of proportion to its size. Make this call now. Decline this invitation kindly and finally. Protect this hour from noise and let it do its work. Precision multiplies when you treat small pointers like coordinates instead of novelties to collect. The third adjustment is how you read resistance. When you touch the right handle, the loudest objections often assemble at once. They will remind you of every time you left and paid for it, of every person who did not understand, of every story in which patience was a virtue and wanting more was vanity. Let them make their case, and then ask your body for a vote. If a slow breath returns and relief arrives before results, proceed. Relief is not laziness. Relief is the nervous system recognizing accuracy. Watch how people behave around your accuracy. Some move closer without needing an explanation because steadiness is legible at any distance. Others test for your old performance by inviting you to carry what you used to carry for free. Decline with one sentence and without apology. You are not being unkind. You are refusing to pay the tax that kept you available for the wrong economy. The fourth adjustment is to trade spectacle for signal. The breakthrough you are courting is the opposite of a firework. It is a room that changes tone because the conversation has finally become honest. Measure progress by coherence. If you can keep the same posture in private that you keep in public, you are crossing. If your calendar begins to reflect what you say you value without negotiations in every hour, you are crossing. If your sleep returns because you have stopped auditioning for rooms that love your compromise, you are crossing. Keep listening for the rhyme in your days. Rhyme is how a life tells you where to stand, so the door will swing on its own. Here is why the swing feels different from every other attempt you have made to change. You are not adding pressure. You are changing physics. The body leads the mind instructs the day, and the day returns evidence that trains the body to trust itself. State first, then story, then action. In a protective state, the breath is high and quick because the body thinks speed equals safety. Attention narrows to threats. Language becomes defensive and busy, and the story that forms around that state insists on keeping what you have, even if it does not fit. In a regulated state, the exhale lengthens by a beat, and the spine stacks without force, and the gaze softens by a few degrees. And suddenly the mind has enough oxygen to admit what is true. From that state, a different story becomes readable. One that respects the version of you that exists today instead of worshipping the one that survived yesterday. The story is not a slogan. It is a sentence precise enough to steer your next hour. I choose relief over performance. I keep one small promise to myself before noon. I say one clean no, so my yes means something. The action that follows does not have to be dramatic. It has to be coherent. When action is coherent, it returns energy instead of spending it all at the start. That return is how you know you are moving in the new physics. There are 3 contracts the old self will try to enforce at the threshold, and you can dissolve them without a fight. The consistency contract says you must remain who you have been, or you will not be trustworthy. Trustworthiness is fidelity to the truest data available now, not loyalty to a costume that shrank. The martyr contract says your value is measured by what you can carry for everyone else. Real generosity does not bankrupt the giver. It circulates because the giver remains resourced. The approval contract says that if you are misunderstood, you have failed and must explain until every witness agrees. Peace begins when you are willing to be misread by some so you can be fully read by yourself. These contracts do not collapse under argument when your body is braced. They loosen when the body votes for safety and the mind is invited to follow. This is why the smallest physiological cues matter at the hinge. One slow out-breath, 1 inch of shoulder dropping, 1 degree of softened gaze, and the narrative that held you closed loses jurisdiction. Precision replaces performance. You begin to notice that the same amount of effort moves farther because friction has been removed from the bearings. You are not forcing the door. You are pressing it in the direction it was built to open. You are not changing everything at once. You are changing the angle at which you meet everything, and that angle is the difference between smoke and traction. When you live in this sequence long enough to trust it, timing cooperates. The book you need is within reach. The person you need appears at the hour you have energy to meet them. The plan that once jammed slides because you stopped asking it to be something it is not. What used to look like luck begins to look like arithmetic. Evidence piles up on the side of coherence, and the mind becomes an ally instead of a panicked accountant. This is what maturity feels like in momentum. Not the absence of fear or doubt, but their demotion from captains to passengers. They can speak. They do not steer. Now give the next 72 hours a spine so that breakthrough has a body to live in. Begin each morning before the world asks for you by claiming a small square of quiet. Sit with both feet on the floor and let one unhurried exhale set the tone that there is no emergency. Then place your attention in the space behind your forehead as if you were listening from there instead of from your ears. Let the inhale arrive on its own and let the exhale be a hair longer, and speak one sentence out loud that fits the day you intend to live. I move at the speed of accuracy. I keep one promise to myself before noon. I choose relief over applause. Do not negotiate the sentence. Wear it. Choose one micro-promise that you can keep in under 10 minutes and do it before noon so your nervous system learns that your word to yourself is a reliable source of safety. The promise can be hilariously small. Send the message you have delayed. Clear a single surface you use every day. Spend 7 minutes on the page that keeps calling you. The point is to start the engine without redlining it. As the day unfolds, meet each hinge with the same simple switch. Pause for 1 breath longer than you want to. Let your shoulders drop by a centimeter. Rest a thread of attention behind the brow and ask the nearest honest question. Which option leaves me quieter in an hour? Then move. If explanation rises like steam, speak one clean sentence and let silence carry the rest. In work, touch the edge that is undeniably real before you plan the mountain. In relationships, answer from the person you are becoming rather than from the role you once played. When old urges to overcheck and refresh arrive, translate them as requests for safety and answer by resetting state rather than by feeding the slot machine. Build guardrails that make your new angle easy to keep. Put the right tool where your hand will find it. Put the glitter somewhere it cannot steal your afternoon. Use simple bells on your phone as invitations to return to breath and brow and sentence, not as scoldings. Treat each bell like a friend tapping your shoulder to remind you that you are allowed to choose the pace. End each evening with coherence rather than rumination so that sleep becomes your ally. Dim the lights sooner than your habits prefer. Sit or lie down and run 7 easy breaths with attention resting at the brow point so that your system closes the day in the same language it opened it. Write 1 short line about what felt true today and 1 short line about what is ready to be released. Let names or patterns appear without drama because ink is a cleaner closure than a speech. If you stumble into an old reaction, repair as a practitioner, not as a penitent. Breathe, name the truth in one sentence, and choose the next micro move that restores alignment. The win is not never slipping. The win is shortening the distance between forgetting and remembering. On the second day, repeat the same spine without demanding new fireworks. Consistency is the adult name for magic. On the third day, add one small public act that the old self would have postponed. Publish a paragraph. Schedule the conversation. Decline the commitment that only made you impressive and tired. Visible acts recalibrate identity faster than private vows because your environment begins to mirror you back with the right reflections. This is how a hinge becomes a passage. Nothing explodes. Everything organizes. You are not waiting for a new personality to descend. You are giving the truest version of you a stable floor to stand on. Keep the vows small and kept. When the day blurs, return to breath. When choices harden, return to the brow. When stories shout, return to silence. From that sequence, speak fewer words and mean them more. Choose the rooms that love your accuracy. Let endings finish without staging a trial. Let beginnings start without asking permission from people who have not earned the right to edit your life. Watch how relief keeps arriving before results when you move this way. Relief on the morning you keep one promise before noon. Relief after the meeting where you said the single sentence and then stopped. Relief when you close the tab that leaks your hours and open the page that feeds the work you are here to make. Relief is the compass that will keep you from wandering back into the almost that hurt you. There will be silence between waves of clarity. Call that silence integration and protect it. Let finishing be a practice because completion is a frequency that tells the world you can carry what you call in. There will be days that feel like setbacks. Use them as a measurement device rather than as a verdict. If you slip into old weather, shorten the distance between noticing and resetting. 2 minutes to sit. A longer exhale. A thin thread of focus behind the brow. A plain sentence that brings you back to yourself. Then move 1 inch in the right direction and let arithmetic take over. The people who benefit from your clarity will find you because you have become readable to yourself. The opportunities that require your full presence will recognize your step because it no longer hesitates at the door. The rooms that only loved your performance will grow quiet and let you leave. You do not owe them a monologue. You owe your life the dignity of accuracy. Remember the hinge image as you finish here. A door built for you opens inward. It does not respond to kicks. It responds to the right hand in the right place with the right pressure. You have learned where to place your hand and how to keep it there even when the hallway is loud. Keep it there tomorrow. Keep it there when you are tired. Keep it there when you are tempted to prove yourself with noise. The proof is the life that begins to rhyme with itself. The proof is the sleep that returns. The proof is the afternoon that gives you back an hour because you stopped spending it on a role you outgrew. Leave this video with one small act that anchors the angle. Send the message. Clear the surface. Stand outside and let your breath lengthen while you look at a sky that has been broadcasting the whole time. Let ordinary be victory and fidelity be power. Your breakthrough has already started, not with a trumpet, with a cleaner physics that turns effort into traction and timing into an ally. Keep the sequence, keep the vow, keep walking.